The S-Class may be the headline-grabbing Mercedes sedan whenever a new one comes out, and I've always actually preferred the E-Class to the S-Class. And today I'm driving the latest E-Class, the W213, which was facelifted last year. Now, before I tell you why I think this is a better choice than an S-Class, I'll first run you through the changes that Mercedes made to this latest E-Class to bring it in line with the rest of its range. The changes are partly cosmetic, but there are hardware changes as well. Mercedes really gave this E-Class a very powerful, a very strong transformation. The entire front end, and by that I mean the bumper, the hood, the headlights, these are all new. The fenders are actually the same. So the rear part of the headlights is the same on pre and post facelift models. But with these new headlights, whose shape is quite different to what you got in the old car, the effect it has on the front end look is quite dramatic. The same goes for the rear. The pre-facelift model had tail lights that did not extend onto the boot lid. But now they are wider, bringing this car's look in line with the rest of Mercedes' range. My tester is currently running on 17-inch AMG rims, shot in winter tires, so the ride is brilliant, even though my tester is an AMG line pack car. So I'm driving on a highway right now, and even though this car doesn't have either air suspension or adaptive dampers specified, it is remarkably comfortable. The seats, which are only part electric, you still have to move them manually forward and back, but they are sport seats because this is an AMG line model, and they are tremendous. You can find a great driving position. They have this adjustable thigh support, which is manual, but I don't give a damn. It's nice that it's there. The suspension is a real highlight, and even though it's simple, traditional coil springs and normal dampers, it is second to none. I don't think there are other cars in this class that can ride this well on steel springs. And remember, in the E-Class you can still specify air suspension if you want. Although I don't think you need it, to be honest. Maybe adaptive dampers. Those are always a good idea, I think, except for when the time comes to change them and your car is no longer under warranty. Some of the engines are new. For instance, the 4-cylinder that powers the E300 is a new design, and it also gets a 48-volt mild hybrid thing now. The diesels were changed just as Mercedes was launching this generation of E-Class, and you can get the new straight 6 diesel, the 3-liter, in this car, which is an amazing unit. A truly amazing unit. I've experienced it in the CLS 400D, and I still think about it sometimes. A wonderful diesel engine. It's so good it might convert diesel haters, but if you already love diesels, then you're definitely going to appreciate it. The plug-in hybrids, just like the car that I'm driving today, are also revised. You can still get either a 300e or a 300de plug-in hybrid. The latter is a diesel plug-in hybrid, and I got the chance to drive a C300DE on the previous generation C-Class because that powertrain is no longer available on the latest one, which I reviewed on the channel. You might want to check that out. But the diesel plug-in hybrid cannot be had with all-wheel drive, while the 300e can be had with 4Matic, which is what I'm driving today, an E300e 4Matic with the AMG pack. So the base price for an E-Class in Romania now is 54,920 euros. If you want the E300e, the plug-in hybrid, the rear-wheel drive version starts at 65,710 euros, while if you want all-wheel drive, that bumps the price up to 68,560 euros. You can thankfully still also get a V8 powered AMG model, which is pretty great. And it's going to be phased out most likely with the next generation E-Class, which is due in probably no more than 2 years' time. Inside is where Mercedes has made equally significant changes, although they might not be apparent at first glance. The steering wheel that I'm gripping onto is the new design. And even though this is the AMG line model, the steering wheel is the non-AMG one. And after experiencing the AMG steering wheel, the new one in the S-Class, I don't like this one. I want that. I think it's amazing. I want that steering wheel. And to be perfectly honest, when I saw this steering wheel in photos, I did not like it very much. I thought it was kind of weird. But now holding onto it in the car, it's a nice wheel. And being a new Mercedes wheel, you get touch-sensitive panels here, although you can still press them. And they work well, I have no gripes with them. Although, obviously, they are not quite as easy to use as traditional buttons. I also like the paddles on this non-AMG wheel. They fall nicely to hand and they feel very, very premium. Not like the ones with the plastic on the back, like BMW is doing in some of its cars, which is not a very smart solution, I think. The only other major change that Mercedes made with the refresh, the midlife cycle refresh, is that it swapped out the old infotainment solution, replacing it with MBUX. So the rotary thing here with the floating thing above it is gone. It was really old. I mean, Mercedes has been using that for over a decade, well over a decade, and it really dated the car. But now it has this trackpad that you can click with haptic feedback, and it works fine. It's quite good. You still get two 12-inch screens, but I think these have higher definition than before, or Mercedes did something to them. The graphics definitely look sharper. And MBUX has all the usual array of new functions like Hey Mercedes and all the other ones. It's disabled in this vehicle. I don't want to talk to Mercedes, I just want to drive Mercedes. But you can ask it to tell you a joke. Mercedes equips the E300e with a 13.5 kilowatt-hour battery pack that is located in the trunk, and it drops cargo capacity from 540 liters to 370 liters. And you also get a big step thing. Total system output is 320 horsepower and 700 Newton meters of torque. The 4-cylinder turbocharged engine makes 211 horsepower and 350 Newton meters of torque, while the electric motor adds another 120 horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque. That's enough to send the rear-wheel drive version of this to 100 kilometers per hour from standstill in 5.8 seconds. The 4Matic adds another tenth, so it's 5.9 seconds. Let's see how it likes to launch. Okay. It definitely feels quick. Although it does take a bit of time to get moving. That's because with all-wheel drive, the plug-in hybrid E-Class weighs almost 2 tons. 1,990 kilos to be precise. So that's 80 kilos more than the rear-wheel drive only E300e. While the E300 non-plug-in hybrid, just a mild hybrid, weighs 1,655 kilos. So making it a plug-in hybrid adds around 180-190 kilos. And it does have an effect on handling. The plug-in hybrid will be more prone to roll and understeer, and the brakes will not be as effective as in the normal 300. But what you get with the plug-in hybrid is a claimed pure electric range of 54 kilometers in the all-wheel drive version, or 59 kilometers if you just want rear-wheel drive. So far this car has not shown me more than 38 kilometers of range with the battery fully charged. But maybe it's because we're in winter and I'm not driving the car efficiently. You can also drive the car on electric power at speeds of up to 140 kilometers per hour or 87 miles per hour. So if you have a short highway commute to work, you can probably do it without starting up the gas engine, if you really want to. Mercedes says that if you keep this car's battery charged, it should return around 1.5 liters per 100 kilometers or 1.6 with all-wheel drive. I reset the trip computer thing when I picked the car up, so I've been averaging 9.6 liters per 100 kilometers, but I've been using the electric boost for electric boost, not to drive electrically, because I wanted to experience this car's acceleration, which is good. Interestingly, all-wheel drive also drops the top speed of this vehicle by 5 kilometers per hour, from 250 to 245 in the all-wheel drive for some reason. quick. It's quick. But for some reason, it doesn't feel quite as quick as the E300e that I drove. And that too weighed almost 2 tons, and it had very similar specs. I think that right now, if you don't want to pose and look extra rich, because you will still look rich driving a Mercedes, I think you should buy one of these and not the new S-Class. Because that car, well, it loses some of this car's craftsmanship and all the world charm, I guess. I mean, it's all touchscreens now, and the seat controls for the electric seats don't make sense. Mercedes is clearly trying to change its image somewhat. And it's done that partly with the E-Class as well, through the midlife cycle refresh that it was given. But this still feels like an older Mercedes, like a more simple analog machine, even though it isn't. But it is simple and analog compared to the S-Class. And I think this is a big enough car. You can fit 3 adults in the rear comfortably. It's cheaper, it's less conspicuous. I mean, you buy the S-Class because you want to be seen in it, and maybe have the very, very latest in terms of gadgets and gizmos. But most of those gadgets and gizmos are also present on the E-Class. Or if they aren't for the current generation, they will be for the next generation. All the tech that debuts on the S-Class trickles down to the A-Class eventually, and the E-Class is the first to get it after the S-Class. At least that should be the hierarchy, but it also depends on which model gets a new generation first, and in this case it was the C-Class, which is now a higher tech offering than the E-Class. But even though I absolutely loved the wheels of the new C-Class, which impressed me by how sporty and well judged it is as a driving experience, I would have serious trouble picking between this E-Class and that. I probably wouldn't go for the plug-in hybrid because it's too heavy and it affects the handling to a degree that I can tell, and I do mind it. So I would probably just get the E400e or the E300 with this engine but without the plug-in-ness. You won't like this car if you want the very latest tech that Mercedes has to offer and the very latest Mercedes look. I mean, inside this vehicle, you still feel like in an older Mercedes. Especially, I mean, the manufacturer has moved its own game on quite considerably, and it made its older vehicles look outdated. Anyway, thank you for watching the video until the end. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.